Let's talk about stages of feminine awakening. It's so funny whenever we start to bring frameworks to things that are impossible to fit into a framework. The feminine awakening path, you can't fit that into a framework, right? Like, you can't fit that into stages. That's the most ridiculous thing on the fucking planet, right? Is to say like, well, here's how Shakti awakening looks. Here's how Kundalini awakening looks. Here's how the goddess awakening in you looks. Here's the stages. It's 1, 2, 3. So that's my caveat to say, this is just a way of talking about things. Again, take whatever serves, right? You're drinking this in. Also, what I want to share is, while I'm aiming to give us some mind food, some stuff that helps us to live the mysteries more. It helps us to bring more insights, helps us to, honor our path forward and feel into what's next for you, right? Like, what's next? What's calling next to you? Here's the line that I want to remind us of is, while I'm about to attempt to give us some mind food based on some frameworks, let the mysteries be the mysteries, right? This goes way beyond words. It's ineffable. I mean, we're literally talking about the embodiment of the divine to the greatest degree possible. We're literally talking about the greatest spiritual awakening and all the different levels of spiritual awakening and the different Shaktis available, right? The different spiritual awakenings. It's not just Kundalini awakening, right? The different wisdom awakenings that are available. All the different flavors of the divine feminine that are available for us to wake up to. That's literally what we're talking about. Impossible to put in the stages, impossible to bring words to, but I'm going to try, right? I'm going to give us the greatest words that I can, but just know that this isn't something to like cling on to hard and fast, because it'll limit your path. Let it touch you and let it weave and let it bring whatever it brings. Don't let it limit. Don't let it limit. I'm going to talk about 3 stages. But we could break it into 6. We could break it into 12. We could break it into 24, right? It's for simplicity's sake, and it's just a way of having a conversation, and it brings us some kind of container so that we can let the magic happen in all these containers. So let the magic happen. Let the magic happen. All right. So I like these 3 words for these 3 stages. I've been teaching this since the very, very start of ReWilding 8 years ago, right? And maybe it wasn't the very first workshop, but shortly after that, because it was like, wow, people really want some mind food for this. So here's the 3 different stages to feel into. It's dormant, where we feel like, and let's just talk about this overall, like overall on our feminine awakening path. So let's feel into feminine energy first. Feminine energy, it's life force energy, right? Feminine energy. Hold on, this usually has to come through in like an energetic expression, so give me a second. If we were to feel into our own feminine, from a divine standpoint, from a sacred standpoint, not like man and woman, not, imposed conditional feminine, not like that, but from the raw energy of the feminine, right? It's life force itself. It's that which creates the all of everything, right? It's the weather. It's every weather pattern amidst the weather. It's the interconnectedness of the all of everything, right? It's the web of life and how it is literally interconnected. It's like the mycelial threads of everything that goes through everything. It's the wisdom in the wind, right? It's that which comes into form. We can think about it as that which comes into form. Now, there's also many other ways to talk about this. Again, know that this is also not something to grab onto, to cling onto, to like grit your teeth in and like, God, you may have come from a beautiful wisdom tradition where the feminine is the formless. She's the void, right? She's the silence. She's the nothingness. She's the, right? She's that. That too. I know. Like, come on, Sabrina. Like, just give me something I can comprehend. It's the mysteries. We'll never comprehend them. Again, let the mysteries be the mysteries, but let them touch you in the way that they're meant to touch you. Let this conversation ping you. Let yourself have to dream about this for like 8 weeks after. Let yourself have to sign up for mystery school to fucking dive deeper because you can't get it all in 90-minute conversation on a live YouTube, right? So let's just really honor that this is this big and we have like that much time to do this, okay? So honoring this particular way of talking about the feminine, that it is what it's like. I can bring in it's just, you can feel it, right? Like I can bring in like Shakti, right? Which is just the wisdom aspect of the divine. I can bring it in and I can like move it through the whole of my body, right? I can move it up into my shoulder. I can move it into my neck. I can feel into like, actually my neck is really sore. So I move this into my neck, right? Oh, this is going to be my meditation a little bit later on today. By the way, this is like what we used to call Shakti yoga. We now call rewilding yoga, but you just work with this. Anyways, before I take us too far into like rewilding movement and we start doing Shakti yoga together, feeling into, for this conversation, that feminine energy is that which we embody, that which moves through us, the way that love wants to move through us to come into form, whether that form be our body, whether that form be something that we create in the world. But it is the life force energy as opposed, sometimes this helps to go into, well, what's the opposite? Not opposite of that, but what is as opposed to, like what's, what rubs against this, as opposed to consciousness itself, as opposed to consciousness itself. Consciousness itself is like the atmosphere. It's like the atmosphere. That's the masculine. That's the divine masculine, right? When we're working in these traditions and we're working to really awaken the feminine aspect of the divine in ourselves, right? This embodied, this life force, this love force, this intuition, this soul, right? Soul. You can also feel into feminine wisdom as soul, heart and soul, right? And then you can feel into masculine as spirit, like Father Sky, Mother Earth. Atmosphere, everything the atmosphere holds. Formless, form. The infinite all of nothing, the all of everything. Right? Got it? So we're working here. The all of everything. And when we start to work on these stages, let's go back to these stages, dormant. Can be that this is mostly still sleeping in us. This is why they talk about awakening your kundalini. It's there, life force is there, but it's sleeping, the sleeping serpent, the sleeping dragon. That's the feminine wisdom, the feminine life force is still dormant. It's there, right? There's still energy moving, but it's mostly still dormant, right? We haven't had that feminine come to life in us. So it's still, which there's nothing wrong with that. Remember, no judgment in this conversation. Remember? No comparing, no judgment. You are at the perfect place on your path and you're like, I don't know if I ever had an awakening. Shit, I'm behind the 8 ball. No, you're not. You're at the perfect place for your soul's path, right? Like honoring. We're talking about feminine soul, right? Soul, you're in the perfect place on your soul path right now. It's perfect. It's perfect. It's perfect. It's perfect. It's perfect, right? Your degree of awakening, your degree of embodiment, your degree, like the plethora of feminine archetypes that are awakening you, it's perfect. Perfect, okay? So stage 1, dormant, mostly dormant. Stage 2, awake. I'm gonna use the word developing for this one. Sometimes I use the word distorted, but we're gonna use developing. So dormant, stage 2, developing. How many of you have had an awakening? A Kundalini awakening, a Shakti awakening, a feminine awakening. By the way, we went through that in workshop 1. Hygiea's Kundalini, goddess of miraculous healing and awakening. She's one of the greatest archetypal energies, if you're working in archetypal energies, to work with for Kundalini awakenings. For first awakening, the feminine essence, the feminine wisdom, the feminine juice in human beings. Okay? So, but it doesn't have to be that you had a big awakening in this challenge. Maybe you had one years ago, you know, and you didn't even know what was happening. But how many of you have had an awakening and it's like, what the fuck just happened? Some of you are sitting in that right now. I've seen some of the comments in the Facebook group. I'm loving ya. Like, fuck yeah. It's your time, right? You've gone from dormant to developing. That is a huge step for some of us. Right? For some of you, like, and you're right on time. You are right on time. So it's developing. I remember when I had my, I had a lot of masculine awakenings. That happened years. I spent like 10 years in masculine-based traditions where it was like the silence, the nothingness, the infinite, you know, nothing, like stillness, no thought, no mind. I had a lot of Christ light, sort of downward lightning bolt, right, which just blasted me into consciousness itself and like bodied endings anyways. But then the feminine woke up in me. The feminine woke up in me, and I remember like, what the? This is glorious. For me, that was my experience. The first one was just like, wow, I didn't even know I could be this alive. Like, and I just fell in love with everyone. I mean, literally like woke up love in me. I fell in love with everyone. I slept with my personal trainer. Yeah. I was in the developing stage, distorted. We could say Sabrina was in the distorted stage, right? I slept with my personal trainer. I think I slept with my massage therapist too. Not sure if it was around that time. Could have been a little bit later, but it was literally like I did not know how to express this level of love that I suddenly felt, and this level of the interconnectedness of the all of everything that I suddenly felt. Now, let me give us a quick reminder. Do not compare your awakenings to mine. Are you doing it? Remember, we have that bucket. There's no comparing. There's no comparing. We're all right on time. Your awakenings, the degree, the subtlety, or the hugeness of them, they are for you. Whether they are sexual or not, can be very, very different. Mine just so happened to be extraordinary love-filled with sexuality. I ended up teaching sacred sexuality, right? It was a part of my awakening, was to come into this stage of from dormant to developing. And it was just like, oh my, and I have this love to give, and I have Shakti to give everyone, and how can I gift you with all of this energy moving through me? And I had no idea how to do that. It was developing, right? Shakti, the feminine, she had to work me. She had to work through my bones, through my blood, through my chakras, through my mind, through my heart, through my womb, through my yoni, through my hips, through my ass. Like, she had to work. So she woke up and then she went, ooh. We're gonna bring the sacred into form, feminine. We're gonna bring the sacred into this woman's cells. We got some purifying to do. Let's get to work on this, right? And it's not just our bodies. Can you see how this is gonna start to lead to that conversation around signs and symptoms and self-care? It's not just our bodies. It's our energetics get cleaned up, our relationships. Yeah, I know a lot of you can relate. You're like, I had an awakening, and then I realized I was in this codependent thing that I was calling a twin flame, and actually it was just a really old karmic horrific pattern that I needed to grow through. Confession time, anyone? Just kidding. With a lot of love, right? With a lot of love. There is no feeling bad about anything. Let the insights ping you. Let yourself be touched in the best way that you possibly can. Get the most out of this, even if it's a truth bomb. Even if this is shining light on something for you, let it, right? Let it with love. With love. And remember, your path is perfect. Me sleeping with my personal trainer? Not a great choice. Not a great choice. Was it perfect? For sure. He had the most glorious heart opening. It turned into like this weird, wild, crazy thing for him, for me, because that was the first person's Kundalini I ever woke up, right? Like, no clue. Good thing I had guinea pigs. Good thing I had guinea pigs before I came to ReWilding for Women, before I started holding circles, before I started teaching. I needed a lot of purification. A lot. So this developing stage, right? It will be extraordinarily different for all of us. I work in a lot of energy with the dark feminine, Medusa, the dark goddess, clearing up karma, shadow work, sacred sexuality, where we hold a lot of pain. We hold a lot of pain. We hold a lot of old karmic goo. I work in South Node territory, past life territory, right? The true north line. I love that territory. I'm built for it. It's what I came here to do, right? But I needed a lot of purifying, a lot of my own shit, my own relationship to other people's shit in that territory, right? Like, so just honoring and loving the developing stage. Loving it. It's glorious. We're literally being taught by her. She's teaching you. She's also in that stage. She's showing you what you're going to be called to. This is a good thing to reflect on, right? What are, like, you have your awakening and it can be very subtle. I know I'm talking about mine was like, blah, 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 blah. It can be very subtle. It can be just like a hiccup. You're just like, you're like, ooh, something shifted. Something shifted. What was that? For some of you, it will be extraordinarily subtle, right? And there's not just one, by the way. We're going to talk about, I'm going to weave in the archetypes and how there's, like 35,000 feminine awakenings. There's an infinite amount of feminine awakenings. It's not just one and done. That's another crazy, weird myth about awakenings that I love poking at. Okay, so stage 2, developing. And then stage 3 is divine. It's divine. Like divine. Where hold on, let me feel how I can share this. It's so pure. It's so, now I'm not talking perfection, right? I'm not talking perfection, but it's so pure that it now is a gift. Like this divine stage, now it flows through the Shakti, the life force, flows through myself in a way where it's so pure, it's so light, it's so love. It has so little to do with Sabrina-ness. It has very little to do with Sabrina karma, Sabrina wounding, Sabrina pain, Sabrina fear, Sabrina-ness. It has very little to do with it. And I am not an advocate of saying we need to kill the ego. Right? So in this, I'm saying it has very little to do with our ego. Our egos are extraordinarily important. If I did not have an ego, I would not have a sense of self. And I would not be a very healthy human being if I did not have a sense of self versus other. If I did not understand boundaries, if I did not understand myself versus other, right? So I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is that your wounding, your fear, your pain, your karma, your ancestral lineage, your all of those things, you have the capacity, you get to a point where you have the capacity for Shakti, divine feminine wisdom in whatever form, can be in raw energetic form, can be in sexual form, can be in creative essence form, can be in how you love your family, raise your babies, cook a meal. It doesn't matter what you're doing, right? It can come through from this place of you are really a channel. You are really a channel for high-level love. High-level love, high-level life force that is always connected to the highest good of the all of everything. That's the way it's coming through. It's coming through the highest good of the all of everything, And that includes you. You're not disincluded from that. Sometimes we go into this like martyrdom, self-sacrifice bullshit. By the way, if you got that, let Shakti work on that for you. She'll clean that up. She'll purify. I had that one too in the developing. Not only was I sleeping with my personal trainer, like I was such a self-sacrificing martyr. My good Lord. That was a big, deep wound from a lot of past life stuff. And just a lot of absorbed conditioning, like, well, if Christ splayed himself out, you know, to die, I'm gonna just carry that Christ wound because that seems like a really valuable thing to do, especially if I'm in the spiritual world. So yeah, I'm just gonna splay myself out until I have nothing left because apparently that's what I must be here for. Yeah, okay, well, I learned in a really glorious way in the developing stage that that's not the best way to serve. It's really not. It's actually really not, right? And then that moves up to divine, right? Can you see that? There's so many different examples in here, and yours will be so unique to you. It will be so unique to you. So unique to you, right? And it will point to your path. So if you're sitting here and you're like, wow, what is my highest path? What is my soul path? What are my soul gifts? It all gets revealed. It all gets revealed. It's in the process of being revealed, right? It's in the process of being revealed. We just oftentimes need to bring some consciousness to it, bring some more juice to it, bring some more, I don't know, focused practices to it, bring some good soul support groups to it, bring some guided journeys to it. Like, I don't know, who's someone who you can trust to kind of help you maneuver through that developing stage. P.S. If it's me or ReWilding, mystery school's a really good thing to do. I had to give a plug for mystery school. It's one of the greatest things that we get to hold space for. It's one of the, I don't even know. I don't want to go into that yet. I will talk a little bit more about that. So those are the 3 stages. Again, remember, there could be 6, there could be 12. This is just a way of talking about it that hopefully helps to bring some insights, helps you to understand your own journey a little bit more. I could talk on that for a week, but I want to park it because I really want to honor our time together, and I want to honor all the different things that I really want to go into to support you. And then I want to open up for questions. What was the 3rd stage? Divine. So it was dormant, developing, divine. Now, also know that you can bounce up and down from all of them, right? It's not like a stage 1 to stage 2 and I never go back into dormant. No, there's times where we switch it off. Like we go numb, we peace out, we freak out, we have whatever, and we go back down to dormant. And then there's moments in life where we're just the divine expression of the feminine. Like it's just like you hit that flow state and it's just pure love, right? Like all the right things align and it's just like, ah! And then you go back down to developing. But what the journey does is that you end up spending more and more time in the divine with less and less effort. It just becomes effortless. This becomes your constant state of being longer and longer and longer periods of time. So it'll be strange to you, like now, depending on where you're at, right? Maybe it's strange to you when you hit one of those moments. You're just like, oh my God, that was a miracle. Oh my God, that I can't even believe like love can flow through me like that. And that level of light and that level of connection, that was just so crazy amazing, right? And then, it's another 6 months until it happens again. But what happens is that then flips. And it's like you spend majority of your time up here without thought, right? But you have to train and you have to practice to get there, right? Like that's what all of this is about, right? It's your becoming. It's about your becoming. So you become it. It's not, you don't work hard. You rewire, you awaken, you support the Shakti awakening. You continue with more initiations, right? More practices, more ways to support the developing, the purification that's taking place in the developing, the shadow work that takes place in there, the healing, all of that stuff that takes place in there. You support the shit out of that, right? And then what happens is you end up spending most of your time up here. And then it's weird when you're in dormant. Like it's strange to you, like you fall down and you're in dormant. You're like, oh, And because you like live up here and you're just a state of beingness, you don't even judge it. Like there's no self-berating. There's no beating yourself up. There's no judgment. Because you're like a wisdom keeper. You're just this wisdom keeper. You've become wizened. You are it. It's the becoming. You just are it. Like you reek of divine juju. You reek of love. You reek of life force. You just reek of it. And so like you have a moment of developing or distorted or dormant and you're kind of like, huh, look at that. Oh, that's cool. Huh. All right. Like there's this enormous amount of love and acceptance. You start to become this unconditional loving being. That's part of the divine feminine path. It's to love without condition. You just love. Right? Even yourself, when you're watching yourself like have sex with your personal trainer. I love this example because it's so tangible. And I also think it's just fun to make fun of myself in this crazy path. Okay, so let's talk about the archetypes now. So the archetypes, how do they weave in there? How do they weave into this 3 stages? How do they weave into feminine awakening? So let's say feminine awakening is like sitting on a fire hydrant. Right, it's like, and a fire hydrant, I know some of you are in different countries and you're like, fire hydrant, what's that? It's basically like a geyser of water coming out of the ground. You can think of a geyser, you can think of a volcano. I know I mentioned volcano in our first live. So it's like this enormous amount of life force, of juice, of aliveness, of feminine. It's enormous, right? It's huge. And a lot of times working with the fullness of it, it's hard. Not always. Sometimes it really super serves, right? But sometimes in this working with the fullness of the divine feminine, we end up leaning to aspects of it that we're more comfortable with. So think about this. For yourself, right? For yourself, this is we get to be totally radically honest with self and we get to love self, like ultimate compassion for self. Are there aspects of the feminine? We can just think about the 6 faces of the feminine. Again, there could be 12 faces, there could be 3 faces, but we'll just talk about 6. Are there aspects of the feminine that you're more comfortable with, that are more awake in you, they're more divinized, right? They're at a higher level. They've kind of gone through developing, they're at a higher level. Feel into this, mother. And this doesn't have to be spiritual. Like we don't have to go like, oh, I've worked with Great Mother, I've worked with the Divine Mother, I've worked with Mary, like Mother Mary, I've worked with it doesn't have to be that at all. It's just like, no, actually, I got 6 kids. My mother is pretty divine. I've been through the developing. I had my awakening as I had birth, as I gave birth. That was a fucking awakening for sure, which is the majority of us, right? And then developing, yeah. These babies, oh, you better believe they moved me through my shit. And now I'm at a pretty high level of mothering, right? So know that this transcends spiritual practice. By far, it's life. Life is spirituality. Life is the divine feminine. She's always ready to awaken us and teach us in all kinds of different life workshop, right? So mother, and some of you, you'll be like, nah, I got wounded mother. Like I got mommy issues. Like it ain't nobody's business. I don't want to mother shit, right? We're being honest. So there's mother, there's lover. Like lover, think about your sexuality. What is your relationship to your sexuality? If it's divine, you're like, oh, I've been through the developing stage, right? Like I've done the sleeping with the personal trainer, right? I've gotten my butt handed to me. I've done yoni massages. I've done, like, I don't even know what they call those wands and magical jade eggs. I've done the healing stuff. I've done the, I'm pretty up here. We got to be honest. Let's just be honest. We're taking an inventory. This is self-inventory. No judgment. You're at the perfect place on your path for where you're at, right? Perfect place. So there's lover. And then let's go to medicine woman, the witch. The witch, medicine woman. We all have medicine woman. We all do. Like your witchy gifts. what you're plugged into, what you're connected to, what you know that you know, but you just don't know how you know it, right? Medusa, she's medicine woman. She's also dark goddess. So if we go to the next face, dark goddess, dark goddess. Dark goddess is a whole nother enigma unto herself, because dark goddess she holds the repressed aspects of the feminine. So that face of the feminine, that's literally her saying, here's the parts that you haven't integrated yet. Here's the parts that you judge, that you ostracize, that you diminish, that you deny. Here's the parts, here's the feminine gifts that you deny, right? That you don't want to accept in yourself. You know, maybe you're a seer and you just don't. That can sit in dark goddess, right? Maybe you're really, really connected to spirits and entities that have crossed over, and you just really don't want to be a ghostbuster, right? You really don't want to see ghosts. You really don't want to see the unseen. That can sit in the dark goddess. It's like the hidden, repressed gifts, wisdom, golden shadow, things that we're called to do. They sit in the dark goddess. So that's always great territory to work in, right? That like innately points at what we're not willing to integrate. It's the shadow. What we're not willing to integrate, to accept, to love, to bring into consciousness, to move through dormant, to move through developing into divine. Because there is a divine expression of that oracle, right? There is a divine expression of all of it. All of it. All of it. There's a divine expression. There's a divine expression of all of it. Every single. So wherever you have fear around a feminine gift, there's a divine expression of it. There's a high level, totally unconditional love gift where it's just pure light coming through you. I promise you. I promise you. But that developing stage, the fears are telling you no. The fears, the societal conditioning is telling you no. I went through the worst. I shouldn't say the worst of the worst. For me, it was so horrible to come into rewilding. It was so horrible. I thought I was gonna get myself killed. I thought I was gonna get my loved ones killed. I thought I was gonna get my team killed for being this out there about the feminine mysteries. For being this loud out there, this much in the public eye around the feminine mysteries. I mean, that's like witch wound, right? That's witch wound stuff. And depending on where you're at in the challenge, you know, we'll have talked about that. We'll have kind of plugged into that in workshop 2. So I want to fast forward. There's 3 more, there's 2 more faces. We'll just touch into them really quick. Again, there could be 12. This is just what we work with in rewilding because it's just a good framework for us. There's the mystic, the feminine mystic, right? How awake is that in you, right? How is it dormant? Is it developing? If you're like feminine mystic, I don't even know what that is. Dormant. That's cool. No judgment. That's cool. We all got a mystic though. We all have a mystic. We all have a dark goddess. We all have a medicine woman. We all have a mother. We all have a lover. We all have a mystic, and we all have a warrior. Right, so the final one is a feminine warrior. Feminine warrior, like you are a heart warrior. You are a soul warrior. You are a warrior for heart, for soul, for love. Right? How awake is that in you? You're like, I ain't got no fight in me, man. No, I ain't got no warrior. Dormant. That's cool. Now, these all express in us in different degrees. They will all express in us to different degrees, right? Some of you will be so lover. These are our unique blueprints. It's your unique feminine essence, your unique feminine blueprints. Some of you will be so dark goddess. Like you are just a walking incarnation of dark goddess, medicine woman. Fuck yeah, get it divine though. Do whatever you need to do to get out of dormant, to get out of developing, and to get it as divine as you can. I'm telling you, life, it's not just about your service to the world or like, yeah, if I'm operating in the divine, I'm a much better mom, I'm a much better lover, I'm a much better partner, I'm a much better colleague, I'm a much better friend. Fuck yeah, you are. You're also a gift to the world. You're a gift to the world. Like you are literally a walking radiation of love bomb, high level, vibrant goodness. But also on a real selfish level, like let's give the ego something it can rip its teeth into. you are gonna be so fulfilled and so happy and so like, it's all the shit we take pills for, right? It's all the crap we go to the doctor for. And we take pills to numb out and to be happy and to find joy, and we sign up for all this shit, right? Like, I gotta find my purpose. I gotta find joy and pleasure and bliss. Yeah, it's there. It's right there. Okay, so that's how the 6 faces sit in the stages of awakening. So your mother might be at a stage 3 divine, but your lover's at a stage 1 dormant. You're like, I don't even feel sexual energy. Like, I have such taboo around sexual energy, around beauty, around pleasure, around bliss, around my own sensuality, like my relationship to my body. It's just not good. I'm terrified to be sexy. I don't want people looking at me. I don't want to be radiant. I don't want to, okay, that's a stage 1 lover, but you got a stage 3 mother, right? And then you come over to the medicine woman and you're like, oh, I got a stage 2. Like, I'm awake to the witch, I'm drawn to the witch, I'm called to the witch, I'm starting to do like new moon rituals, I'm really getting into like blood mysteries, and this is just singing to me. It's not really alive and awake in me, like there's no juice behind it yet. It's just awake, it's developing, there's no juice. Like, this is like witchy shit. It's so powerful, but mostly there's no juice behind it, right? Like, mostly new moon rituals, it's because the Shakti's not alive yet. It's still dormant or it's developing. There's no juice going into the intention setting, into the new moon ritual, the full moon magic. Like, there's no juice. You need the juice. That's the waking up. Like, it brings the juice, the divine feminine wisdom and aliveness and life force and love and magic, essentially, to everything, right? So when we start to feel, and when we work consciously in these different aspects, we don't get to escape into the one we're comfortable in. Because if you just worked in divine feminine energy, you might go to mom all the time. Because it's awake, it's alive in you, it's your comfort fucking zone, right? So you're in divine feminine mystery, you're like, yeah, this is so great, I'm so divine. Okay, because you unconsciously fall into habitual pattern of, this is just the one that I go to, this is my go-to, right? And you skip the lover, you skip the medicine woman, you skip the dark goddess, you skip the warrior, you skip the mystic. But here's where all of you is at. Where's our magic? Here. Where are your gifts? Here. Where's your purpose? Here. Where's your golden shadow? Here. So find the practices that take you into the different aspects. And that's also where, instead of just doing the 6 faces, you could do the particular archetypal energies within the 6 faces, so it narrows it down even more. Like, let's go medicine woman. Well, within medicine woman, there's Medusa. We've done Medusa. I mean, there's more to Medusa. You can't just assume one workshop and suddenly, like, you've gone from dormant to developing and you're a divine. That's silly. That's silly. Like, the amount of gifts that sit in Medusa, you could spend the rest of your life in Medusa and still be opening up to Medusa mysteries. For some of you will be called to that. You're like, I'm just called to the Medusa mysteries. I'm spending, my whole life is dedicated to the Medusa mysteries. That's how much is in all of them. Right? So we're just within the medicine woman. There's Medusa, there's Hecate, who sits there, queen of the witches. Oh my goodness. She takes us into completely different things than Medusa. So maybe you have a really open, awake, alive Medusa. You're like, Medusa mysteries, Medusa mysteries. Yeah, this is so great, this is so great. And then Hecate comes dormant. You got a stage 3 Medusa. You're in the medicine woman. You got stage 3 Medusa, but you got a dormant Hecate. It's stunning. Like, isn't this exciting? This is exciting. This is exciting. There's literally like this roadmap to awakening to this amazing spectrum, this big, beautiful, broad spectrum of the feminine mysteries, right? That's how the archetypes weave into the stages of feminine awakening. Pretty great, right? Pretty great. By the way, Hygeia, she sits in the mystic. She sits in the mystic. So you've gotten to work with mystic, archetypal energy. Vesta, who we spoke about today. She sits in the mystic. Okay. How y'all doing? Do we need to take a big breath? Persephone passes as mystic. They all pass as mystic, to be honest. I mean, again, these are all frameworks. Like once you get to the divine expression of any of them, they're mystics, right? Once you get up here with any of them, it's a mystic. Pallas Athena, she's warrior goddess. Pallas Athena, warrior goddess. You get to the divine expression, of course she's a mystic. She's a mystic warrior, right? She's a mystic warrior. She's connected to the mystery. She's connected, and she expresses as a mystic. So again, just know that this is just a way of talking about things. It's just a framework, right? Do they overlap? For sure. Like sometimes you'll be in Medusa and you'll be opening up to a Medusa mystery, and then you'll go into Hecate and you'll be like, wow, similar, different flavor. Sometimes they'll take you to wildly different places, wildly different gifts awaken, wildly different healings, wildly different past life territory, wildly different, and sometimes very similar, right? Some of the archetypal energies, if you want to talk about archetypes a little more, some of the divine feminine archetypes, the myths will cross over. Like they will overlap, right? Like an archetypal goddess energy in the Indian pantheon will overlap with an archetypal energy from the Greco-Roman. So you'll feel like, and it'll get confusing. You're like, wait, but what goddess does what? And you're like, but this goddess over here, isn't she just like Hecate, but just in a different tradition? Yeah, they're not meant to be linear. Let the mysteries be the mysteries. They're not meant to be linear. Don't let the mind try to box this. So let me just remind us, I know we've talked about 6 phases. I know we've talked about 3 stages, but let us not box it. Let us not box it. Let's blow up. Let's blow that up. And it just honor that it's so much more. It's so much more. It's way beyond words. It's not linear. It's not fitting it into boxes. It's so much more. Okay. I want to talk about signs and symptoms. I want to answer some questions. We're together for another half an hour, so if you've just joined, if you need to get a cup of tea, if you need to like shake around a little bit because that was a lot, go for it, do whatever you need. We're just taking I'm gonna drink something. I'm gonna drink a little bit of tea for a minute. This is Maui mango tea, by the way. I don't know why I love this stuff. It's so weird. It's like mango, apple, I don't know what's all in here. Pineapple, I don't know, but it's really good. Oh, I love being here with you all. I've missed being specifically in the feminine mysteries. I've been in Sacred Union a lot. Dragon, the Alchemist, Priestess training. But it is like coming home to be here with you all. And I'm really grateful. That we get to dedicate space and time to the feminine mystery specifically, like give her the talking stick, her the space. All right. I don't know how many feminine archetypes we work with in mystery school, but a lot. All 6 faces for sure, a lot of archetypes. I work with probably 36. I always say 36, it's probably like 45 at this point. I've been saying 36 for like 8 years. It's probably like 45 feminine archetypal energies, goddess, sacred, divine feminine archetypal energies. Amy, will there be an in-person retreat in 2024? I don't know. I'll maybe just answer this. I love that question. I love in-persons. I love this. I love big, long 18-month priestess training programs. I love 3-month mystery schools. I love so many things. I really, at this point, on this path, I have such a dedication and devotion to what serves the moment that my poor team can't plan. We can't plan 2024. We can't plan much of anything. I'm almost, yeah. So I don't know. Everything that we do is really, what is the greatest thing that we can bring through in this moment? What is the greatest thing that we can hold space for? What is the greatest thing that I can facilitate? What wants to come through me? What wants to come in? What is it that I can create a circle of beings for that serves the moment the most, right? That's this mystery school. That's this mystery school. That's this mystery school dedicated to the feminine. For whatever reason, just this moment in time is our call, ReWilding's call, my call, to hold this space, to really dedicate these 3 months to the feminine mysteries, Her rising, your rising, the feminine in myself rising even more. I don't get to go through a mystery school without more happening in myself, right? This is a gift to myself. These 3 months, I just had a massive thing happen for me yesterday because we're going through this challenge, because I get to be sitting in the same container with you, totally focused on the feminine mysteries. I got to have an amazing shift, an amazing awakening in myself to the next degree of what the feminine was ready to, I don't know, shift, arise. I'm still sitting with it. Right? I don't have the mind food for it. But it was a direct result of being totally in the feminine mysteries. So I don't know if there will be an in-person retreat in 2024. I know there's an Ibiza retreat with 2 spots open in a couple of weeks. I know that there's a ReWilding for Women mystery school coming in January. I don't know if I'll ever run another feminine mystery school. I'm not saying that for any other reason other than this is just the place we live from. This is the place that ReWilding creates from, that I create from. It's this call, it's this, what am I called to? What am I called to? What am I called? That's living from, for me, it's living from soul. It's like living from soul. It's like from this deep place of what is it that is the most true, that is the most aligned, that I am the most connected to. How does love want to flow through me and move through me, and where does it move me? And for whatever reason, it's moving me into this ReWilding for Women mystery school for those 3 months, January to March, right, of 2024. That's all I know. I don't know, that's what I know right now. Yeah. All right. Let's see. Let's talk about signs of feminine awakening. I really want to go into this. I think there were a lot of questions around this that were asked. So, I know I talked a little bit about in that developing stage, right? So it's after we come out of dormant, it's the awakening. What are signs and symptoms of awakening? Now there's many levels and many layers and many things that are in this whole process, right? It's like in developing, there's like, I don't know, 85,000 stages right, that are in there, signs and symptoms. And just knowing that it will be very unique to you, right? Your awakening will be very unique to you. What you will go through, how physical it will be, how emotional it will be, how mental it will be, how into your physical world it will be very unique to you. For some of us, it will be very in our physical bodies. For some of us, it will be very much our lives get blown up. For some of us, it'll be very much relationship, how we relate to other humans, how we relate to the world around us. For some of us, it will be self-love, right? Our own love of self, our own self-esteem. For some of us, it will be very internal. For some of us, it will be very mental. Like our minds are getting rewired. We're starting to get rewired so that the mind can comprehend the mysteries, so that it's the great becoming. And your becoming will be very different to anyone else's becoming. Let me feel for a moment. Because it's the feminine, so because we're talking specifically about feminine, there's also masculine spiritual awakening, right? If we want to give the feminine awakening something to bounce off of, but I want to talk specifically now to feminine awakening. If we think back to what I was sharing about what is feminine energy, right? We come back to that and we go, well, it's very embodied. It's very much about life force. And you can kind of start to see this link between spiritual awakening that is feminine. We could say Kundalini awakening. We could say Shakti awakening. All the different archetypal energies, goddesses, those are all different threads of Shakti. So Kundalini is like one. That's like Haijia's Kundalini awakening. There's one. We like associate all of the feminine with Kundalini awakening. I think that's wildly inappropriate. Like we haven't caught up to that there's like 85,000, you know, like every single one of those archetypes that I talked about has an awakening, has a Kundalini awakening, has a Shakti awakening. There's an awakening of that wisdom aspect, that juice, that life force, that love, that energy, that sacred. It's like psycho-spiritual sacred energy wakes up in you. All of them have a different thread of that. It's not just Kundalini, right? I think, how do we not have that right yet? This blows me away. Maybe that's why I'm so dedicated to the feminine mysteries right now. Like, there's more that we need to get out into the world and get out publicly. In that, because it's so embodied, right? It's embodied. It can seem more intense than, I don't know, other types of awakenings, because it's seemingly like other types of awakenings, they might not give you heart palpitations, right? Like feminine awakening, it's your sexuality, it's your love, it's your body, it's your blood, it's your bones, it's your blood cycle, right? It's your mind, right? Like she wants to divinize you. She wants to bring you further and further up here. And up here, it's not that you become just some like boring old mystic in a monastery at all. You just become infused with love in every area and joy and bliss and life force in every area. So let's not get this confused of like divinize, well, fuck you, Sabrina. Like, I'm not on a fucking monastery nun path. Are you kidding? This has nothing to do with that at all. It's just you're alive, you're awake. It's love flows through all of that. But she wants to get love flowing through all of you. And sometimes when she's moving love through parts of you that are like blocked and sticky and, you know, like my gallbladder one time. I mean, this was so weird in the developing stage. I don't think I was sleeping with my personal trainer at that point. I think it was after that actually. My gallbladder just hurt so bad, like so bad. There was a lot of energy moving in my body. So I go to the doctor, I go do all the health stuff. They're like, your gallbladder's fine. I was like, no, it needs to come out. Like, we need to get this gallbladder out. It's gotta come out. Every doctor was like, no, we are not taking your gallbladder out. It's fine. I talked to my grandmother. Somehow randomly I'm on the phone with her. I'm like, Grandma, I don't know. I can't even lift my arm. I don't remember what side gallbladder's on at this point, but I can't lift my arm. I can't breathe. Like I'm laying on the floor, like I'm incapacitated over this thing. And she's like, oh, I had my gallbladder out. Yeah, just get rid of that thing. She's like, your great grandmother had her gallbladder out too. Okay, cool. I'm just working on some ancestral stuff, right? And like 2 weeks later, gallbladder was fine. I never got it out. I never took any medication for it. I never did anything, but that insight and then energetically working with it and knowing that that was just part of the purification process. But it sucked. It sucked. I was certain I needed gallbladder surgery. Certain of it. I mean, I tried to convince doctors I needed gallbladder surgery. Like, get it out. Just get it out. But it was ancestral. It was her divinizing that because I was apparently, and I don't have the insights around it, I was holding some energy from the ancestral line. I could feel it. It was the feminine line, right? My grandmother, my great grandmother, I'm holding some ancestral energy in my gallbladder that does not serve. And all she's trying to do is divinize it. And it came through as pain. So let me feel for how we can honor this and support this in ourselves. Symptoms can be everything. But doesn't that suck? Like, Sabrina, why can't you just give me like 5? It can be everything. 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 Your dog dying can be one. Your relationship blowing up can be another. Gallbladder can be a third. Your mind being totally foggy and fuzzy. You being in a state of nothingness and you have no clue what direction to take. That can be one too, right? How do we support ourselves? How do we support ourselves? Let me think of my greatest supports. My greatest supports during those intense awakening moments, times, developing times, being around others going through the same thing, being around others focused on the same thing, being around others who are dedicated to awakening the feminine in themselves. That was the greatest thing that I could give myself at that time. Greatest thing that I could give myself at that time. Listening to people who were a step ahead of me on the path, who had gone through just a little bit more than I had gone through, or maybe a lot more than I had gone through. Fucking amazing, like Sally Kempton. I couldn't get enough, right, of Sally Kempton. She's since passed, but at the time, she was doing all kinds of online teachings, right? And she was talking about the feminine, the awakening of the feminine, the purification process, and all the different things. And here's what you can do. Plug into the supports, the community supports, the training supports, the mystery school supports, the teachings, the books, the podcasts, whatever it is for you, right? And also ask the goddess to guide you. Ask her, right? Ask Shakti to guide me to, gallbladder thing. Guide me to share this with my grandmother on the phone. I mean, I was at that point, I was just praying, you gotta guide me. You gotta show me something because I don't know what the breakthrough is here. And it was literally being guided to talk to my grandmother, to mention that I can't move, to get that insight. Then I get to consciously work with it, right? But ask, don't forget to ask, to just ask, guide me. What's my next step? What's my next move? Where do I go from here? What am I called to? It's soul, right? Remember, she's connected to soul. She's always holding you in your highest good, your highest path forward. That's her. So just ask. Just ask. You got a sign, you got a symptom? Ask. Ask. And have the community, the supports, the people, the teachings, the trainings around you that are specifically devoted to the divine feminine, if that is the path that you're on, right? If that is, and you are like, I don't know, I'm just really called to feminine mysteries. Great. Great. But the feminine also comes through, let me feel, yeah, just breathe it in, drink it in, be surrounded by it. Those soul supports, I can't stress that enough. Those soul supports, I had some really messed up teachers too. I'm not gonna lie about that. That's part of why I'm so dedicated to running mystery schools and running priestess trainings, because I had some really bad fucking teachers. I had some really bad programs that I was a part of, some really bad shit. I'm sure some of you can maybe relate. There's a lot of weird gooey stuff in the spiritual communities. But I also had some really good teachers who really supported and got me through some real tough times where you're in the dark night of the soul. You can't see. You think you need to get your gallbladder out. You can't get off the floor because you're in so much pain, or there's so much fucking emotion. There's so much emotion. You feel I remember I cried for a month once. And it was literally crying all the tears that I did not cry in this lifetime, because I was told that good girls don't cry. I grew up, good girls do not cry. And I cried for a month. All that pent up, repressed grief in my system, all the pent up tears. And good God, did it suck when I was going through it. But to have someone say to me, Sabrina, just cry and keep crying. Don't stop. There is an end to it. It will come to an end, but let the energy keep moving. This is the greatest thing that you can be doing. Do not stop. That was my fucking lifeline. And thank God I had that teacher in my life at the time, because I would have had no idea. I would have tried to shut it off. I would have tried to stop it. I would have, probably ended up thinking I was depressed and on pills or something, right? Because the feminine is so misunderstood. The awakening path of the feminine is so misunderstood. So just whatever you're called to do, to find the supports, to find the teachings, the trainings, the groups, the programs, whether that's mystery school or it's not mystery school, great, right? I am so dedicated to your soul path, right? I'm so dedicated to your awakening path. I am so dedicated to that. Please hear me say that. I am so dedicated to that. I am so dedicated to your truth, right? That's it. Whatever that truth is, if that truth is, Sabrina, I will never see you again, that's your fucking truth, and I love it. I love it. That I love more than anything. I love that more than anything. It's just your truth and your courage to follow your own breadcrumb trail, to follow your own intuition, to follow how the goddess moves through you and how she talks through you and how she supports you and guides you. So whatever that is, that's the greatest thing I can tell you. It's the greatest thing I can tell you about any question you have. I know we're gonna go into questions in a minute, but I know that we also only have like 12 minutes together, right? So just keep that in your back pocket. Ask her. Any question you're sitting in, anything you're sitting with, where do I go from here? What do I do? I have so much emotion, right? Well, ask her, goddess, guide me. Like, guide me. However she feels for you. Maybe it's like divine. Maybe you feel her. Maybe it's goddess. Maybe it's a particular archetypal energy you call upon. Maybe it's the divine masculine. I don't care, whatever, right? Call in the big guns. Whoever the big guns are for you, right? Get out of the way. When we get stuck, we got to remember to ask. We have so much support in the unseen realms. We got so much. We just got to ask.